Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Thursday, March 14th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card we are starting our day off with today is, I'm not surprised to see this, my friends. Why am I not surprised to see this? We ended yesterday with the Tower. So a lot of those anxieties, a lot of those wounds coming up. I told you that heaviness may have felt a little bit, depending on how you experienced it, like that energetic calm before the storm, if you will. But what's really important about that is the fact that there wasn't any kind of storm. It may have allowed you to recognize the feeling or sensation that makes you feel like that. Masculine and feminine energy specifically. I'm going to actually start with the energy coming into the divine union, because this is the energy that is actually allowing for a lot of energetic breakthroughs in relationality to one's own self. Why? Because we see here for the energy coming into the divine union right now, this observational point, this point of breakthrough that you may be having right now, both in your own perception shifting, having coming into deeper and deeper, going into the divine union frequency, it is changing your perspective, and not just on the external energy around you, because I warned you. I even made a lot of points yesterday to say that one of the things we want to be very cautious of as we enter the divine union frequency is not allowing ourselves to move into some space or place of self-righteousness, recognizing and identifying that anything that wasn't outside of the divine union frequency doesn't effectively mean that it was energetically wrong or intentionally wrong. It was a deep, important path lesson that has helped you achieve individuated understanding of your own self, and potentially even how you're going to proceed going forward from this point. That ability to recognize that can sometimes feel like it builds that sense of, again, either deep grief and anxiety about what has potentially come before that moment, or it creates a moment of potentially looking at everything that may have led up to the point that you found your own self as bad, as wrong, as something that was unhealed. Recognizing and identifying that those were all important, valuable lessons that would, if were they not for that path, would not have you in the modality or space or place that you are today. That is how we energetically accept and bring compassion into our own journey, both the place that we are presently, but also even for the things that didn't necessarily work the way that we had aspired or desired to, right? Were it not for those missteps, were it not for those lessons, were it not for those confusion points, none of that, it all required it. It all needed to go into the mix to bring you into the person that you find yourself to be today. So we even recognize and identify that for a lot of the energy right now coming into the divine union frequency, being able to put some point of path work in terms of better understanding a lot of the chaotic energy that may have led you into the divine union frequency. This is leading to what may feel like a lot of energetic confusion, a lot of energetic anxiety. That's that moment that we see that a lot of that focus comes on the outside in. Again, making sure that one doesn't move into that modality of over focusing on what's outside the divine union frequency as opposed to the work that you can do in it is very vital and important at this time. Masculine and feminine energy that's deep in the heart of the divine union frequency, you're much more akin or understanding of this lesson because it's something that you've kind of been working on for quite some time right now. For the masculine and feminine energy and the divine union frequency in this modality, being able to recognize and understand what feels like it is energetically creating too much crisis or too much anxiety in your own life, we actually see that this is something that, again, what is the energy in the divine union frequency doing right now? Are they trying to ignore a problem? Absolutely not. This is the energy. That's why we saw that beautiful, I want to say beautiful. I know you guys are afraid of that card sometimes. I'm going to say that beautiful Tower energy that we saw that was coming to play at the conclusion of our read yesterday, because that's that moment of recognizing and seeing what you are afraid of. But what is the energy doing right now, even in the divine union frequency? They're not turning their back from it and moving forward. They are facing towards it. To be able to address it, to be able to see it without a point of fear is, in a way, what feels like a lot of the breakthrough in the path work for the energy of the divine union frequency, because that's not that moment of energetically wanting to go back, but being able to ascertain and recognize what feels like it is something that you can navigate through, what you feel like you can do to amend or correct or to fix, versus what you have to kind of just accept and observe is the nature of a circumstance or situation. A lot of this is coming into play right now, even for the energy in the divine union frequency. And while it is heavy work, it is also vital and necessary, because that ability to pre-avoid, to be able to address something, is how you effectively or energetically prevent something from becoming a spiritual or an existential or even a tangible crisis point. So a lot of this right now is almost doing a lot of the hard work in advance to avoid what could be a bigger or worse problem later. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now, this is that modality that is most accurately expressed in the sadness, the frustration, the fury, the resistance of a lot of the energy that feels like they have found themselves on this path right now. For a lot of the energy in separation, this point of acknowledgement of one feeling like you did everything that you could do in a circumstance and situation, and everything that you could do wasn't energetically enough. That is that moment that is the amplification of acceptance, but it's also that energetic feeling of potential frustration, because that is the acceptance points in saying to oneself, all I can do is everything I can do, and I can't do anything beyond everything that I can do. So a lot of this energy that we're seeing right now that is moving in separation, this is why we see that this feels like such a crisis point. Because this is the acknowledgement point of basically ascertaining and recognizing that when you're pushing against the current, you can push all you want. You can push all you want. You can try to battle the ocean. But if the ocean's moving against you, then that's that moment of understanding that something may always be in that modality. And that's why we see that for a lot of the energy in this experience, that sense of acceptance is a sense of identifying and recognizing the difference between the energetic signatures that feel like they're moving in the directionality of you, that want the same things that you desire, that aspire for the same things that you desire, that have the same manifestation goals that you do, versus energy that feels like it's like a trudge every step of the way, that is actually the observation point of someone that doesn't energetically potentially desires the same things that you desire. That is why we see energetically that moment that someone feels like they're almost like pulling away from someone, but them pulling away is just them not putting all of that energetic effort in to try to push back against something or someone that feels like they're moving against them in every step of the way. That's a heaviness. That's a deep sadness that potentially is carried forward at this point. But that point of observation and understanding is also that moment that we potentially see that a lot of energy is coming into in relationality to acceptance. Because what happens in that moment? What happens in that moment is the memory and the recognition, the guidance coming through that says to you, what you're doing is not wrong. The only thing you're doing is doing it in a space or place that the energy with you isn't moving in alignment with you, which makes you feel like you are the wrong, right? What happens when you're moving in one direction and everything around you is moving in the opposite? It's going to feel like a constant struggle point. So we see even now that a lot of this energy just feels like they're doing a lot of path work right now in redirection. Not trying to change that energetic tide, almost saying to that energetic tide, when you're ready to move in the same movement of me, I'll effectively know it because you'll be there. It'll become easier. We'll feel that amplification of of counterpart energy that wants the same thing and flows in the same direction. Continuing to get clarification, but still recognizing that it's hard because it's a path of acceptance. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our 3 of Cups. What is the supportive energy right now that's coming in to almost energetically help a lot of this energy in separation? Potentially already feeling some of that energetic tide that is giving you evidence of how easy it can be when you're energetically moving in alignment with energy that moves in the same way that you move. What is happening right now for a lot of the energy that's in separation? It's like your point of separation is almost like it's not a point of saying, of feeling like you're wrong in something. It's almost that moment of seeing immediately some kind of immediate recognition point on how easy it can be when the energy with you is moving in alignment. And what's hard about that is that's where this becomes that healing lesson. because that's that moment that the present experience is actually providing a very stark counterpoint to what is so energetically hard. I'm going to come back to this. If this is that modality where energy went into separation because something that you were energetically asking for from another felt like you were pulling teeth, felt like it was a bridge too far, felt like you had to do cartwheels and somersaults to get someone to effectively give you something that felt like it was meager, that ability of immediately being handed that, almost without a second thought, almost by someone like not even thinking twice about it. That's that moment that suddenly immediately is a point of a deep karmic lesson that's coming into play. Because that's the moment of suddenly recognizing and saying, I wasn't doing anything wrong in my asking for something. I was asking in a place that was not accommodating or wasn't in a line to give me what I was asking for. How easy it becomes when you move in the alignment of the energy that freely gives what you ask for because they want it back in kind. So we see even now that this feeling of recalibration that's potentially coming through, it doesn't feel like a point of joy. Even now, I have to stress that the energy receiving this, it's almost that moment of feeling someone give you something that you may have worked so hard for or tried so hard for from someone else for so long. Having that moment of someone giving it without a second thought, that is that moment that feels like that deep, like it almost feels like that deep wound that opens, because it almost shows a clarity in terms of the path work in how much hard, like giving you that full clarity is that point of really understanding and seeing exactly how hard you were working for something that would have been very easy if you're in alignment with energy that wants to do so, that wants to move in that way. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. It's a heavy lesson, because it doesn't mean that you shed the desire for the past experience to have given it to you. It just feels like that stark, deep reminder and lesson that almost hurts to receive it. It's like that gift that you receive, but hurts to receive it when you get it, because it reminds you of the space and place that you did not receive it, that you aspired to receive it. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency. This is why I'm telling you right now, I don't want you to move into a path or space of righteousness if you're coming into the divine union frequency. It is far too easy for the energy that comes into the divine union frequency to start to feel like everything that may have been outside of that union was negative, was wrong, was something that was like, maybe even like I tell you, like the shadows get more stark the higher you go up into that union frequency. But being able to recognize that that has to do with your own perception to a certain extent is how we look, and we put compassion. We energetically put compassion even into those spaces that may have caused energetic chaos for us in the past. Why? Because if not for that, I would not be here. If not for that, I would not be here. Were it not for those lessons, were it not for those difficulties, were it not for those hurdles, I would not be here. For the grace of all of those things that occurred, thank you. That is that moment that we can look back on our path work, even when it was difficult, even when it was unfair, even when we can look back and see that it almost feels even more unfair at the moment that we come to receive something. We can look back on those lessons and we can say, thank you for teaching me. Thank you for giving me this clarity, because were it not for all of that, I would not be here now. And so we see here that a lot of the energy right now is working through that process. And I'm articulating and stressing this right now because I do see that some of the energy may be taking more of that stark approach of things, not wanting to look back, not wanting to forgive, wanting to carry that bitterness, wanting to carry that hostility forward with them. That's not healthy. You don't want to bring that into the divine union frequency. That's like bringing a poison apple into the bunch. You want to let that go. You want to shed that energetic pain, recognizing that this is a place of celebration, and being able to recognize that this is a place of celebration is a moment of being able to look back at all of the energy that led up to this point and say, I wish you well. I have nothing but compassion in my heart for you, because that is the extension of your own healing gesture in being able to move forward without becoming bitter and kind. Masculine and feminine energy moving into the divine union. This is in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is this modality that we're effectively seeing right now that is amplifying one's own ability in terms of recognizing and identifying what feels like you can change, what feels like you can bring into a point of modification, what feels like you can heal, versus what you feel like you have to just accept about circumstances and situations. Even now we see that a lot of the energy that is in the heart of the divine union frequency. It's not that, I keep telling you, it's not that everything that gets easier when you're there, right? It's not that things get easier. Things get potentially even more complicated. But what is the energy doing in the heart of the divine union frequency? They are taking up the task at hand. They are doing what they can to bring that positivity to play, even around navigating the circumstances and situations that feel like they are difficult, that feel like they are hard. This is that energetic work that we see that a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency is navigating right now, which is, again, energetically bringing as much joy and abundance to the counterpart as one can, amplifying, trying to extend that as much as you can. You see even here, that ability. How can you have that ability? You can't hold bitterness. You can't hold frustration. You can't hold hostility to things. That's just allowing that negativity to come through. Being able to put forward that active energetic abundance, allowing that compassion to push forward as much as one can. That's that moment of, again, almost saying, I'm not going to be able to do more than I can, but in the space that I can, I'm going to do everything that I can. So we see even now that this is a lot of hard work that the energy and the divine union frequency is doing to try to amplify that feeling of positivity, even in a space or place that feels like it is hard to do so. Continuing to get clarification, third card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our Magician in its reversal. I told you, what is the one frustration with the energy in the divine union frequency? You only have so much energy that you can put forth. Even now, we see the fact that the energy in the divine union frequency is experiencing points of frustration, specifically and oriented around the limitation factor in the desire and aspiration to do everything that they want to do, and only having so much time, effort, and energy to be able to put forth in the spaces and places that they desire to do it. So we see even now, what is the energy right now doing to help an energy that is feeling that frustration, that is feeling that limitation, that is feeling that questioning of their own ability and their own ability of self? This is the reminder of the energy to the energy in the divine union. The amplification saying again, if you're feeling like you're not succeeding, if you're feeling like something is hard, it's because you're trying to do something great. It's not because you're trying to do something small. It's because you're trying to do something great. And great things require that feeling of pushing against something at all times. That's almost part and parcel. It's like the energetic expression. It's not a unique experience. It is the nature of the work, right? If you're doing it right, it almost like you're always hitting that point and saying, it doesn't feel like I'm doing enough. I don't feel like I'm doing enough. That's that moment of saying, like, you're doing everything exactly as you're supposed to, as long as you're not energetically draining yourself at the same time, because that is the expression of the energy holding themselves to that highest accountability level where you almost feel like you're constantly disappointing yourself. What is the energy doing right now in the divine union frequency? Acting as a clearer mirror to the other as opposed to the mirror for the self. So what happens in the divine union frequency when someone's energetically saying, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing it well enough, I need to do it better? The energy in the divine union frequency is saying, you're doing great. I see you better than you can see yourself. You are doing amazing. You are doing incredible. That energy of affirmation that is acting as the energy providing that context of a clear mirror. And that context of a clear mirror is not one that feels like it's giving that false sense of hope. It's actually saying, you could probably do this a little bit better. You could probably do that a little bit better. Finding the thing that is actually honest and factual, while also helping to amplify and show someone the aspect of themselves that they cannot see, right? Helping someone through their own veil of self-doubt. I told you, we saw all of those abandonment wounds rising to the surface yesterday. Being able to face those anxieties and fears may have even been anxieties and fears about one's own self and one's own capacity and ability. Masculine and feminine energy. And what is the energy saying right now? Again, this is the same message that we saw yesterday in relationality to how the energy is helping with the abandonment wound. What do we say when we see the abandonment wound in the divine union frequency? There's no reason to fear, and if you are fear, you're not alone. You will not face those fears alone. You will not face those fears alone. I am with you. I am with you. I am with you. Having that energetic signature, amplifying and saying, you've got this. Keep going. We're with you. Having that energetic signature is what is helping right now empower a lot of the energy coming into the divine union frequency, or in the heart of the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into the divine union frequency. This modality, I'm telling you right now, being able to look at the context of the past, the situations and circumstances that led you to come and find yourself at the divine union frequency. This is that modality of recognizing that feels a little bit like a paradox, right? How can you look at something? How can you have been healed after all of those things that you're now looking at and seeing like they look even worse from this perspective? They look even harder from this perspective. I see things with more clarity than I could before. How does one look forward? How does one look back on something and give that level or degree of compassion? You have to imagine to yourself and say, I was also blind in those days. I could not see it either. The ability of seeing and ascertaining and saying the energy around me may have felt like they didn't know what they were doing, nor neither did I. Having that moment of personal accountability in the fact that you must count yourself in that energetic experience. Having that ability and saying, I need to have the same amount of compassion for the energy that may have been moving incorrectly as I have to have for my own self, because I could also not see clearly back then. So we see even now for a lot of that energy, that ability of looking towards things with that sense of energetic compassion is the amplification of a lot of this energy going forward right now. It's also, again, that moment that we see that a lot of the energy right now in the divine union frequency is ascertaining and identifying what feels like it is of energetically healing, what feels like it can come into a state or space of repair, what feels like it is bringing that signature of energetic, positivity and matching that energetic signature of healing in the energy of the divine union versus what feels like it was potentially leading away from it. What was creating that energetic chaos? What was creating that energetic conflict? We see even now for a lot of the energy coming into the divine union frequency, trying to ascertain may feel a lot to do with what feels like it is supportive of the connections that are happening versus anyone that feels like they're trying to push against an energetic connection that's happening here, right? A lot of this is potentially almost coming through right now in terms of recognizing this, almost coming through it to a certain degree or in a certain way of effectively saying like, at a moment of happiness, when one is experiencing a moment of happiness, being able to observe and recognize what energy feels like they are happy for you versus the energy that feels like they're, not in that celebratory state and seeing something energetically positive happening around you. This is where we see even now there's potentially a lot of energetic shifts that are potentially happening for a lot of the energy coming into divine union that is built and focused on the observation in relationality to whether the other energy around them feels like this is a celebratory moment or whether they're trying to create some point of conflict and seeing a divine union coming into being. That is that observation point, again, between the difference of what feels like an unrecognized anxiety point versus the observation of seeing something that clearly has an anxiety connected to it. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now. This modality that we're potentially observing here. This is the heaviness that is potentially occurring right now for a lot of the energy that is in separation. Why are we seeing a lot of this heaviness right now for a lot of the energy that's in separation? Masculine and feminine energy in separation at this time. This ability of recognizing what feels like it is, again, having that point. I have to stress right now, even now, for a lot of the energy in separation, making these new energetic connections, seeing how easy something can be, experiencing the simplicity of receiving something that may have felt like it was taking so much considerable time, effort, energy to be able to try to receive in other spaces. Having that moment, it doesn't necessarily feel like a moment of joy, right? It almost feels very bittersweet right now for a lot of the energy encountering and experiencing these new energetic connections and possibilities. Because this is not a moment that someone moved into this directionality with the hope or aspiration of finding another energetic signature. This was the hope and aspiration of wanting to bring healing to something, seeing no indication that healing has occurred, and suddenly recognizing and realizing to a certain extent that the easement is offered in the energy that's moving in alignment with you and is able to offer what you were hoping and aspiring to receive from the energy that wasn't healed. It feels bittersweet. It feels harrowing. It feels like that moment of frustration and anger to say, why couldn't they give it to me? Why couldn't they give me the thing that this other energy is trying to give me without even blinking? Because that is that observation point of recognizing potentially that feeling of energetic connection. While it may be sacrosanct between you and another person, it doesn't necessarily indicate the fact that you're on the same path. So even now, that deeper understanding is coming in through right now in relationality to the clarity of some circumstances or situations. For feminine, that's the observation point in the difference of an energy that feels like they're in alignment with you and aspire and desire for the same manifestation goals. While for masculine, this is the act of the gift of the self that you're receiving here. This may be feeling even worse for some of the masculine, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, because this is masculine energy that's trying to lead forth to feminine right now without putting up a fake front, without putting up artifice, without building that world of illusion. This is that hard work we see masculine doing, saying, if I want to be honest and open with the feminine, if I want an honest and open feminine, I must be an honest and open masculine. If I want a feminine that will be vulnerable to me, I must be a masculine that is vulnerable to the feminine. If I want all of these things from the feminine, I must aspire to become those things, to show to the feminine that it is safe in order to do so. So we see even now for a lot of the masculine, this is hard work. But it's seeing immediately the results of doing so. Feeling that energetic equivalent, feeling that energetic shift. It feels very harrowing for some of the masculine having this, because it helps you observe how you may have been standing in your own way in the past. So having a lot of grace for yourself as you experience that right now, masculine, is very vital and important. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is, there's this card again. This is the same card we had yesterday going into our reading. This is hard work. This is understanding the deeper context of one's own journey. For masculine energy and separation, suddenly recognizing and realizing that if you were trying to lead in a space or place of illusion with the feminine, trying to put that false optics up at all the time, all you were doing was creating a world of illusion around yourself. When you lead forth with lies, all you get are lies. When you lead forth with illusion, you will get illusion in kind. Understanding and recognizing that the feminine acts as a clear mirror to masculine, even to the extent that the masculine doesn't even observe and recognize that feminine knows and identifies when they're leading forth with falsehood. This is that moment of recalibration for a lot of the masculine and separation that says, what was I doing? Look at the shift. Look at the shift when I'm able to lead forth from to feminine in a space or place of vulnerability. That's not feminine energy wanting to play with me. That is feminine energy seeing and experiencing an authentic expression of masculine and wanting to celebrate for it, because that's the feminine feeling the beauty of a masculine that's willing to do that hard work of coming into a space or place of vulnerability to build from a place of honesty with the feminine. So for a lot of the masculine receiving and understanding this is some heavy energy, because this is that moment of saying, what was I doing? Why was I doing that? Even saying, why was I driven forth in that? Was that something that was within me to do? Was that something that I was taught? This seems like it was almost like that moment of suddenly realizing and recognizing that everything leading up to this point would have been the result. Like, that's that moment of seeing potentially like how your own movement forward was amplifying what you were receiving. So we see even now for a lot of the masculine energy experiencing this feels almost like, I need to stress, almost like a very tangible shift. It feels almost like a very tangible shift, because it's not just the fact that you're building new positive energetic connections with feminine, but you're seeing the world in an entirely different way. Feminine energy in separation right now, moving forward, moving in alignment, feeling the supportive energy around you that is aspires and desires and wants the same thing, energy that is on their own healing journey. It is it's building a lot of clarity for a lot of the feminine. And again, this is going to feel energetically heavy to a certain extent, because that is that moment that if the feminine is now leading forward and asking for something from masculine, and masculine is just giving it to feminine because she's found masculine energy that's in alignment and trying to move forward with the same manifestation goals. This is that moment. It doesn't amplify the desire. It doesn't remove potentially the energetic connection that you may have had with past expressions of masculine energy, but it certainly gives you a lot more clarity as to what wasn't necessarily going well. And that's that moment of basically observing that, again, that point of seeing another energetic signature and saying, I don't know if they intended to do that, or if I don't know if they just couldn't see it. I don't know if that energy sees themselves, or I don't know if that energy was intentionally trying to do that, but either way, it doesn't matter because it's all the same in the wash. Regardless of whether it was intentional or whether it had to do with an energy that did not see or understand themselves enough, it doesn't matter which one it is because the conclusion is always the same. So we effectively see that for a lot of the energy experiencing this right now, that a profound breakthrough, that deepening understanding of the self and moving in alignment with energy that is just offering you what you ask for and desires what you desire. That is that point. It's a heavy lesson, but there's also a lot of catharsis that comes through along the way. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union. This observational point, this recognition point, seeing things from a different perspective because you've entered the energy of the divine union frequency. This modality, it feels, again, like a lot of this energetic work right now for some of the energy of the divine union frequency is observing the energy around you right now, and particularly how the energy around you is reacting to finding you coming into the divine union frequency. Because again, that differentiation point of whether the energy around you is celebrating and happy about the fact that they find you coming into divine union, or if they feel like they're bringing in some point of chaos, if they're trying to bring in some point of doubt. This is that point that we're almost energetically seeing to a certain extent, that feels like that point of observation, because that's that moment of saying, well, I guess I can't bring you with me. I guess I'm seeing everything that I need to see. I think you're giving me all the clarity I need in reactivity to how you're reacting to seeing me very happy. So a lot of the energy right now going through the divine union, coming into the divine union frequency, is almost, again, energetically feeling that shift in terms of identifying the energy that feels like it is in alignment, that is celebrating the fact that you found the divine union, versus the energy that feels like suddenly something is wrong because they find you at a point of having that point of happiness for the self. So we see even now a lot of clarity is coming through right now. And again, that same questioning of saying whether someone recognizes that, whether they're doing it because they're unhealed, or whether that's intentional, it's all the same in the wash. That's not that point of potentially trying to pursue why, it's just the observation of. Masculine and feminine energy that is in the divine union frequency, this modality, this recognition point, this understanding has a lot to do with that energetic feeling of building forth right now into a space or place that feels like you're doing the best that you can, potentially around very difficult situations. Similarly, and we're experiencing here, this is that modality that we're energetically seeing to a certain extent, with a lot of the energy coming into the divine, that's in the heart of the divine union frequency, which is, again, experiencing just the state of the world right now, experiencing a lot of that chaotic energy around you, doing what one can, and as much as one can. The only problem that we're seeing for a lot of the energy coming into the divine union frequency right now is just feeling, to a certain extent, that there's a limitation in terms of how much one can do, right? Even now, there's that moment or modality that the energy in the divine union frequency is experiencing that is amplifying the difference between what one feels one can do versus what one feels like you don't have the bandwidth to navigate right now. And what are we seeing here right now? This is the energy in the divine union supporting each other and almost amplifying and saying, all we can do is everything that we can do. All we can do is everything we can do every day. That's all we can do, everything we can do, but no more than that. And even here we see there's some situations and circumstances where we see a lot of potential seeds are being planted with a bit of that wait and see modality, right? This is almost that reminder, and we see even now that the energy of the divine union frequency is almost saying to one another, you know, we have to plant seeds. What happens when you plant a seed? You plant a seed, you don't know what's going to come up. That doesn't mean that nothing is happening. That doesn't mean that nothing is happening. Maybe you can't see what's happening. So even now we see that energetically, a lot of that energy in the divine union's frequency is giving one another energetic support in terms of identifying and saying, the work that you're doing, even now, it's not necessarily the fact that it's not having the effect that you aspire to do. You have to recognize that there's something under the earth that's potentially happening here. And you have to give it time, because you won't see that breakthrough until the moment it breaks through. So that is a lot of the energetic support that we're seeing that the energy in the divine union frequency is providing one another at this time, even as you're feeling, like we said, some of that energetic weight of stillness that is coming through right now in relationality to this energetic expression. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is beautiful energy today with the star in its upright. Masculine and feminine energy right now in the divine union frequency. What is happening right now for this energy? Feminine energy. It's a little bit easier for the feminine energy to carry this. Why do you think it's easier for feminine energy to carry that idea of saying, well, if you can't see something coming into fruition, you just need to wait. It doesn't mean something isn't happening. You know, if you put something in an oven, you can't just pull it out and it can't be ready. You have to wait. If you put a seed in the ground, you can't just pull it out and say like nothing's happening. You have to wait. There's that moment or modality of patience that becomes more in alignment with the feminine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Feminine is more attuned to that ability of recognizing energetic patience, planting those seeds, waiting for those things to occur. Masculine is taking a page from the feminine's book right now, even in the divine union frequency, because masculine, wanting to see more of those immediate results, wanting to see more of that immediate action. This is harder path work for masculine energy. What is the masculine doing? They're learning, they're taking from the feminine energy that gift of patience, that lesson of patience, that lesson of just moving with authenticity and integrity and continuing forward in that ability is how we effectively allow for what we want to come up. It takes that intentionality of purpose and that patience. A little bit harder right now for the masculine energy that's doubting themselves because they're not necessarily seeing that immediate result in the relationality to what they're doing at this time. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency. This is that modality. I need to stress this for some of the masculine energy right now coming into the divine union frequency. I do not want you self-sabotaging right now. I don't want you self-sabotaging. I'm going to tell you right now, there's some of this energy right now that may be feeling like that abandonment wound popping up, those doubts and fears that are rising up at a time that everything is moving very stably. That's that moment of the masculine feeling that sensation that things are going so well. And again, making sure that this is a lesson in being able to like isolate and secure the abandonment wound. This has to be one of those moments that you do that, masculine, because there's a lot of cards here that could say that you might move into a space or place of potentially self-sabotaging due to the fact that you recognize that when we move forward in something that is stable, there's always some of that energetic unknown. What is the masculine energy doing right now that is building that solid connection with the feminine in the face of the abandonment wounds coming up? There's nothing you can't bring forth in the divine union frequency that will not immediately be met with an answer. There's not anything that you can bring forward. And again, so long as you don't move into that accusatory space, as long as you're not subjecting someone to your emotionalities or your feelings, but offering them from a point of inquiry, offering them from a point of saying, I am worried, I am concerned, being able to get that balm put on them, recognizing that the feminine, there's not a wound that you cannot bring forth to a feminine, that the feminine will not want to put an easing balm on so long as you don't move into the space or place of accusing the feminine of the doubts and the fears. So we see even now for some of the masculine, this could even be masculine energy right now, and feminine going through this right now. Coming into divine union, having some energy that is very positive and happy and excited to see you moving in that way. Having some energy that is not. And so even now we see that some of the struggle with this energy coming into the divine union frequency is building that point of observation and recognizing that moment of someone bringing in some discord because they see you moving into the divine union frequency. Misery loves company. Misery loves company. That's all there is to say about it. So we see even now that for some of this energy, that feeling, some of that energy around you right now may be feeling like it's trying to test the bonds of the divine union frequency, either from a place of making someone question the direction that they're going into right now, or because they have that desire of recognizing or feeling like someone is less fun when they come into the divine union frequency. So we see even now a lot of this energy coming into divine union frequency. The energy that's staying in the divine union frequency is using their discernment to identify the energy that seems to be supportive at a time that they are happy versus the energy that just seems that they want to take that happiness from someone. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This modality that we're effectively seeing here, this is that energetic heaviness. This is that energetic weight, if you will, that is potentially coming through circumstances or experiences for both masculine and feminine energy. You're seeing that energetic shift. You're going through your own healing cycle. You are seeing that process by which you are identifying and recognizing personal breakthroughs, deepening understanding. It's having a different impact on masculine and feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For the feminine, this is that moment of acceptance. If this is a moment that you are now seeing and feeling the expression of asking for something and receiving something from masculine, that sense of authenticity coming through, it almost makes things harder because being able to see the expression of a masculine that feels like they're moving in alignment with you, it doesn't necessarily make you immediately heal from anything that wasn't in alignment. It gives you a lot more clarity. It feels like that moment that almost hurts as you're receiving it because it's the amplification of feeling the difference of easement in a direction of that with like an energy that you're building a connection with. And it's amplifying the sense of the connection that you may have been feeling with another energy that wasn't giving you those things, that was making that seem like it was a constant struggle. It's almost amplifying that point. And it's affirming. It's affirming to the feminine experiencing this because that is that moment of the feminine saying, it wasn't me. This wasn't a bridge too far. I was just on the wrong bridge. Masculine, same. If you're leading forth right now, building connections with feminine from a space of authenticity, clarity, learning from the past, saying, if I want to be honest and open with the feminine, I need to be honest and open with the feminine from the start. If I want feminine to be vulnerable to me, I need to be vulnerable to feminine for the start. If I don't want to live in a space or place of lies with the feminine, I can't bring lies to the feminine's door. The feminine will replicate anything I bring forth to them in ways I can't even recognize. I don't know how they do it, but they do. Feminine have that ability. So the masculine that's learning this says, I need to lead forth. I need to heal myself. I now realize and recognize that all the experiences I had prior to this were ones that I might have self-created, because if I wasn't leading forth to feminine, I was just getting back in kind every step of the way. So for the masculine that's feeling that shift, that's leading forward for honesty, integrity, vulnerability, and receiving it back from the feminine and kind, the problem with this is some of the masculine may be recognizing that this means that there may be a severed connection with feminine in the past that was trying to teach you this lesson. And it feels like the energetic equivalent of having learned a lesson at a very, very high cost. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our 3 of Cups in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. This is healing. Do you think healing was easy? No. Healing hurts. Healing hurts. Healing hurts. Healing hurts. It's gotta hurt to heal. It's gotta hurt to heal. Even the energy and separation right now. It's healing. It's hurting. It's healing. It's hurting. It's healing. It's healing. It's gonna hurt if it's gotta heal. It's gonna hurt if it's gotta heal. I know it's not easy. It's hard. You think that's why? Do you think healing's easy? No, it is hard. You have to make that choice every step of the day. Even now, that's that amplification of feminine feeling and masculine, feeling the easement point, feeling how easy it is when you do the hard thing, feeling how easy it is when you do the hard thing. How is that? That sounds paradoxical, I know. When you move in alignment with the energy that gives you what you want, it reminds you of the energy that wouldn't. When you move from a state of authenticity, it reminds you of the spaces and places you may have lost when you didn't. That is that modality that is so difficult. And that's that modality of the heart opening. And that modality is saying, my heart's opening. It doesn't mean I just feel good all the time. It means it hurts. It means I need to address the spaces that it hurt. And even now we see that a lot of that energy is hurting, but also saying, I know I'm doing the right thing. It hurts like heck, but I'm doing the right thing. It hurts, but I'm doing the right thing. That is putting the healing towards something. That is like working, that is like walking on the stiff leg to get it to move again, right? You got to push through sometimes. You got to give it that extra energy. And the energy around, a lot of the energy in separation right now is saying, keep going. I know it hurts. Even energy, finding other energy, saying, I'm doing it too. I'm doing it too. It's awful. It's not ideal, but we're going to continue to heal for it. We're going to continue to move forward. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency. What we're effectively seeing here is that energetic frequency of observing potentially energy that's moving into divine union frequency and looking at some energy that seems like, oh, finally, I'm so happy for you. Welcome. Versus the energy saying, are you sure you know what you're doing? I don't know about them. Are you sure? Are you sure? Sucks if you're doing that. A lot less cooler if you didn't come into divine union. What's happening right now for the energy? That observation point. Is the energy that is coming into divine union right now getting pulled out by the energy that's trying to drop those like little grains of bitterness into something? No, this is the energy that's educated. This is the energy that's healed. This is the energy that recognizes that not everybody wants you coming into divine union. Wonder why? This is the energy that's looking at their own path and recognizing and understanding, and even to the point of observing the difference between the energy that is supportive of seeing you in a moment of happiness versus the energy that feels like they're trying to pull you out of it. So even now we see a lot of understanding that's potentially happening right now in relationality to some of the energetic shifts that are happening for some of the energy coming into divine union right now. That is also healing, because your perception is helping you build clarity on what feels like is energetically supportive energy around you versus energy that just doesn't necessarily care about your prioritization of your happiness. So even now we see that that point of observation is building a lot of clarity. That also hurts. That also hurts to see, but it's also healing. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. The energy in the heart of the divine union frequency right now. This modality is the amplification of continuing to move forward right now. It is difficult. It is hard. We even see one of the reasons that the energy in the divine union frequency needed a little bit of a break yesterday, because some of that energetic heaviness that we're seeing right now, it feels like you're carrying the weight of some of this energy that we're seeing here. It feels a little harder to place. It feels just more like the situation at hand. It feels more like that heavy blanket effect that's potentially occurring around situations and circumstances right now. What is the energy doing right now? Pushing back against it. Taking up that work. Doing it in a joyful way. In a way celebrating. Making a point of positivity in doing this right now. Bringing that amplification of joy to the work that one must do. Not only saying to a certain extent, what is the energy in the divine union saying? We're going to continue to heal as much as we can heal, and we're going to be happy when we do it. We're going to be as happy as we can when we do it. That ability to uplift the spirits, that ability of keeping that like balloon in the air, if you will, like being able to hold that over, being able to hold that for yourselves, building that sense of uplift, helping each other every step of the way is the amplification right now of the healing gesture. It's that moment of effectively saying to one another, we've got this. We're going to keep moving. We've got this. It's hard, but we continue to move forward even if it's hard, and we're going to support each other every step of the way. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Three of Cups in combination with our Magician in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Hermit in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy. What is the affirmation that the energy is having right now to support one another in the divine union frequency? What was the energy that we saw that was coming through yesterday? The abandonment wound. What does the abandonment wound shout to you? You're alone. You're alone. You're alone. What does the energy in the divine union say? You are never alone. I am with you. I am with you. I am with you. The energy in the divine union frequency, like amplifying that message, amplifying that message. Even when you feel like you are alone, I am with you. You are never alone. That is the affirmation of the energy, and saying even now, even if you're going through this, we even saw that a lot of this energy right now is going through a lot of stuff in the divine union frequency that they feel like they can't articulate on. You can't really articulate when you're going through a dark night of the soul with other energy. That's hard. That's that limitation factor. We all contain multitudes. We all have those moments that we can't express to another person. What are we saying to someone going through their own moments? I know you feel like you are alone right now. You are not alone. Even in that moment, even in those things you can't express to me, you are not alone. I am with you. So we see that that is the amplification of the energy coming through in the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency. This is that point of clarification that's happening right now for some of the energy that was around you, specifically due to the fact that your own clarification on your own self-work at this time is the amplification and recognition of potentially looking around you energetically and seeing things that you may not have necessarily seen before. Being in the divine union frequency is giving you a new perception on things. And what is the amplification that's happening right now for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency? Coming into divine union frequency. I couldn't see something before. I couldn't see something before. My perception was off. I was seeing things in the wrong way. And even now, that ability to observe and that ability to build that sense of clarification and understanding, it's changing the perceptions. I told you, the only thing to be very mindful of right now is not getting righteous. Don't let yourself get overly righteous in relationality to whatever led you towards this point. Remember that even in that moment, that even assuming that you know everything you know and see everything that you can see, you don't know that. You used to feel like that before this. Remember? So just keep that in mind to a certain extent, because that ability of recognizing is almost that point that we see that a lot of the energy right now is just amplifying the good. They're looking towards the energy that feels like it is amplifying the good. They're looking towards the energy that feels like it is moving in that energy of supportive, just like the energy in separation, moving in alignment with the energy that feels like it is in alignment, not trying to change the energy that is not. Masculine and not inquiring or desiring to find out why. Masculine and feminine energy coming into in separation. This modality, this is what feels so difficult for a lot of the energy in separation, because we see here there's a lot of breakthroughs that are potentially happening right now in relationality, even in separation. The problem or the hurdle that we're potentially seeing for a lot of the energy right now in separation is feeling the experience of energy that feels like it is in alignment with you. Energy that is moving in the directionality of that current. It doesn't make it easier for the energy that's not. It doesn't make you feel like, oh, I just don't care anything about that energy right now. That's that moment of recognizing what you feel is in your power to change versus what is in your power to accept. So even now, there's a moment that feels very heavy for some of the energy that was moving forward in this way. Because for the feminine, receiving something from someone that you were asking for from another so easily, it feels like it can feel very debilitating. It can feel in a way like it almost feels like this weight. This is the karmic healing that a lot of the feminine needs to come through right now, because it's not your responsibility to heal someone. It's not your responsibility to bring someone on your own path. A lot of the feminine energy is healing from the trauma of trying to energetically change someone. Recognizing how much extra, like how when you're moving in that modality of trying to change someone, it's always going to feel like a failing gesture, because that's that moment of entering a partnership and saying, I can change them. I can adjust them. That's the feminine going, well, that was my first mistake. What was I thinking? That's the moment of saying that was my first mistake, thinking I could see a masculine and say, I can change them. Why? This is the feminine saying, what if I don't change them? What if I just find the masculine energy that's in alignment, that's in the space or place that I desire and aspire to be? That's that moment that helps the feminine in the separation have the energetic breakthrough of the karmic release and saying, my accountability point. I felt like I was failing all the time because I was failing. I was trying to change someone to be in partnership with me. And seeing a resistance point. We're not talking about changes like take out the trash. We're talking about like changes like I'm going to turn the rock into the rose. I'm going to turn this into that, like changing fundamentally what someone is. Masculine and in separation right now. This modality, it's hard. Being open, being clear with a feminine, speaking from a place of vulnerability. You were taught not to do this. This is even masculine going, I don't know how to do this because I was never taught how to do this. This is masculine energy, like literally taking those fragile steps for a lot of the energy right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Potentially even saying to feminine, I don't know how to do this. I haven't done this before because my ability to connect with you in this way is not something that I ever considered. Even now doing that, but immediately feeling the amplification of a support. Even if this is a masculine saying, I don't really know how to do this is feminine going, great. You saying that is fantastic. That's feminine going, music to our energetic ears. Can you tell, like, the gift of a masculine saying to feminine energy, I'm not really sure how to do this, is like, I can't tell you. That's like all the flowers in the world. That is like gold. That is the feminine being like, oh my goodness. Like, it's like, oh my God. Like the feminine's like falling to the floor, like singing praises to the heavens. I can't even tell you how happy the feminine will be to hear masculine coming towards feminine going, I really don't know how to do this because I haven't done this before. That, you're doing it. That's literally the feminine going, you're doing it. You're doing it. You're doing it. Like, so even here, that moment of masculine, that is helping the masculine heal because it's coming towards the feminine from a place of tenderness and vulnerability and feeling the welcoming arms of feminine, recognizing and giving back in kind. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between the Magician in its reversal and the Moon card. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. 9 of Cups in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. It's hard. It's hard when you have a breakthrough. I know, it's not that moment. It doesn't feel like, wow, I've done it. I'm so happy. It feels mortifying to a certain extent, right? It can feel very difficult because what happens when you have a breakthrough? When you have a breakthrough, you can suddenly look back on experiences and say, what if I had had this breakthrough sooner? What if I had recognized this sooner? What if I'd done something differently? For feminine energy, that modality may be feeling the expression of a feminine. And I want both of these energies in separation right now to give yourself a lot of compassion. You can only honor where you are. Everything that's led you to this moment was a part of the lesson that helped you discover and find yourself at this time. So for a lot of the masculine and feminine energy feeling this, that moment of feeling some kind of energetic shift. For feminine, moving more with that sense of discernment, not trying to change the masculine, but just looking for masculine that is in alignment in terms of what your manifestation goals are. That feeling of suddenly moving with the current instead of against it, that's that moment. It feels energetically heavy. Because this is the feminine energy saying, I wish I hadn't allowed myself to become connected to someone that was not wanting the things that I desire and aspire for. That's that moment of the feminine saying, my failure point was allowing someone close and then recognizing that I could not change them. So even here we see that this is a feminine energy coming into a point of healing because the feminine's almost saying to themselves, I need to be more careful who I allow close to me. Because once you create that emotional or energetic bond with someone, that's that moment where you'll continue to try to move against, even when it recognizes that they don't want to move with you in that capacity. So we see even now that that act of discernment, it is requiring feminine. Feminine is holding themselves much closer to their own chest right now. Because this is a feminine energy that is saying to the masculine, my vulnerability is a gift. I don't want to become connected to you until I can trust you. I don't want to build that sense of building a bond with you until I know for certainty that you and I are in alignment in relationality to what we are hoping to achieve and what we want in relationality to a relationship or a manifestation goal moving forward. So even now, this is feminine energy laying those, like, again, those tendrils coming out of the earth, taking that slower approach. But saying again, the energy that's in alignment with me, they will recognize and value the fact that I am coming into a space of healing and I'm going to need and require that type of time. Why? Because this is feminine articulating on the experiences prior to this that have caused them to be in that modality of holding something close. What is masculine doing right now in separation? This is masculine that's leading forward, doing again that hard work, building forward to feminine from a place of openness, honesty, vulnerability, clarity, to be able to build the relationship that they truly aspire and desire for with a feminine that equally wants that same manifestation goal. That is hard work. Masculine, being able to be open in that way, it feels like something that feels a little counter to what you may have been taught or what you may have felt you needed to do. But even now, if you're having those breakthrough points from a place of vulnerability and honesty, it's opening this door in terms of looking back on all of the experiences that may have led prior to this point and saying to oneself, what if I had done something differently then? What if I had learned this lesson sooner? What if I had led forth in this way at an earlier point? What would have arisen? That's that moment that is the grace of understanding in terms of saying that you cannot go back. You cannot take those lessons back with you, but you can hold them as a very valuable lesson going forward. So even now, for a lot of the masculine energy, this may feel like something that feels a bit energetically overwhelming, because it's almost that moment of coming into deeper sense of understanding, but almost like the understanding that opens a door on countless other possibilities and opportunities from the past that you may not necessarily have recognized. And it may have come at the toll of losing an energetic alignment that you would have potentially aspired and desired for, because now you're starting to understand a lesson that someone may have been trying to teach you prior to this point. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. This is the observational point that some of the energy in the divine union is recognizing, is in terms of you can't take it with you. You can't take all the energy with you. As you shift, as you come into perception shifts, as you come into shifts in terms of divine union, you may effectively be leaving some energy behind. But that recognition point for a lot of the energy in relationality to who you're energetically leaving behind has more to do with how the energy is reacting to finding you in the energy of the divine union. Is that the energy that is celebrating, supporting, protecting that energy? Or does it feel like it's trying to come towards you in some way, shape, or form to try to shake the foundation of it? So we see even now, for a lot of the energy moving forward in this way, that observational point feels a little bit like a sad but true, because it could be a moment of saying, I don't know why this person's acting that way. I don't know if they intend to. I just need to observe it. Is the energy in the divine union trying to pursue it? No. They're just observing it and taking note energetically to a certain extent. That's a little bit of that sad but true energy that we see around situations and circumstances. You know, that moment of being like, I don't know why I got in divine union. Suddenly someone started acting all weird, right? Or someone just like having a problem. Like all of those observational points that we see at times that give us or build us this heightened sense of understanding and clarity. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union. This modality, this expression, this understanding, as it were, this is that point that we're effectively seeing that is amplifying one's own sense of supporting one another on the way. Because even now we see there's a little bit of this, I have to stress, this is something that we're seeing that feels a little bit like a point of energetic stagnation. Not necessarily seeing a lot happening right now. What is the energy in the divine union having right now to support one another? The reminder that when you plant a seed, you can't see what's coming up. You just continue to plant seeds. You don't stop planting seeds. You just continue forward, because that's that sense of having to put one's own trust in the process. That when we're trusting the process, we have to trust that modality of saying that there's going to be that breach in time when we might not see the result of our actions. Doesn't mean that the actions aren't having their intended effect. It's just the fact that we might not see them yet. You don't see the sprout coming out of the ground until it pushes through. That can be hard, especially for the masculine coming into that activation energy and wanting to see, feeling the doubt of something that you put forth being able to come through. Feminine, being able to take a little bit more of that sense of spiritual intuition. Masculine, almost taking a page from the feminine's book right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Just the feminine almost saying, wait and see. Sometimes what is growing we cannot see under the earth. We just need to continue forward. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our moon card in combination with the star card. Love these two cards together. Look at this combo. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Our hanged man in its upright. What am I telling you? What is the feminine doing right now to help support the masculine that's feeling that moment of self-doubt? Feminine energy saying, wait and see. Wait and see. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just don't stop, right? You gotta do something. Sometimes you gotta do something for a long time. And sometimes, and here's the thing, sometimes time is also an element of something. Sometimes time is an element. You gotta have that consistency, right? You gotta keep moving in that way. So the feminine energy, almost again, giving the masculine that sense of support, saying, wait and see. Just because you don't see the results of something now doesn't mean that something isn't happening. You can't see what's at the bottom of this lake. Got to just keep pouring into it. You don't know what's there. There are things under the surface. There's always things happening. There's always that element of the unknown here. Just because you're not seeing the immediate result of what you're putting forth, giving the magician a lesson, this isn't a rabbit out of the hat thing. This is sometimes there's something that takes more time and effort and energy, helping the masculine through this right now, helping the masculine through their own dark night of the soul. Feminine saying, sometimes we just need to wait and see. Masculine getting that valuable lesson right now from the feminine in the divine union frequency. Even at this moment that the masculine is feeling that doubt of the self. This is the feminine saying to the masculine, keep going. Why is the feminine doing this right now? Because this is a powerful feminine energy that feels the environment of being able to be their most vulnerable, authentic self to the masculine. This is a feminine energy. It's almost saying to the masculine, you've taught me this resilience. You taught me to move forward in this way. It's hard work. As long as we've got the time and the energy to do this, we can continue forward in this way. That is the gift that the energies are giving to one another, right? Masculine and feminine in the divine union. Continue forward. It will get easier, right? We just need to continue forward. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency. This is the masculine energy having that energetic breakthrough with the feminine coming into the divine union frequency. Because even now, potentially this is masculine energy coming into divine union frequency, feeling like they've found this space or place that they're trying to create with the feminine. And what's happening now? Masculine is building that sense of objectivity and relationality to the energy around them, paying a lot of attention to how the energy around them is navigating the fact that masculine feels like they found something precious. Right? This is almost the masculine energy, building that sense or power of observation and understanding, especially if this is a masculine that's telling others of what they have. Being very mindful of the energy that seems like it is happy for the masculine, celebrating, versus energy saying, are you sure? You really want that? You really know that person? You sure about that? Right? That's the masculine energy, building that sense of, again, deepening perception of their own self. Because this is that modality of potentially understanding that when we find something that is precious to us, we can build a lot of experience and understanding in the energetic connections around us in relationality to how they address it. Whether energy is happy for you when something positive happens, or whether they seem a little frustrated, or whether they seem a little disappointed, or whether they try to give you that disappointment at a time that you're experiencing joy. A lot of the energy right now coming into divine union, building that sense of discernment, not even necessarily activating upon it, just taking a lot of notes, just building a lot of understanding. That too is a form of wisdom. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This is the feminine energy returning to sender. This is feminine energy calling their energy back. This is the feminine energy calling their energy back. This is the feminine energy building that point of observation right now, feeling that sense of catharsis, having that point of understanding, potentially even seeing right now energy moving in alignment with them, just giving them what they're asking for without feeling like they need to demand or cry or beg for it. The feminine energy potentially moving away from situations or circumstances where they felt like they used to have to demand or cry or beg for something. Is that energetic piece of a feminine feeling, the catharsis point. It's sad, it's heavy, it's deepening, it's an emotional deepening, because this is feminine energy that's still carrying the weight of the energetic connections where they had to learn those lessons. But this is the feminine energy. This is the emotional expansion of a feminine energy saying, I can make room for this. I can make room for the fact that I can hold space for an energy that I care about, that was not in alignment with me, that was not giving me what I need, while also making space for the new energetic connections that I know I'm going to be building. This is feminine energy, doing that deep work of the self to say, I can make room for all of these things within me, right? And even now, that is the feminine energy, like effectively or energetically saying to oneself, that level of love and compassion that they're almost feeling energetically. This is how the feminine energy is healing this, because this is feminine energy not saying, looking back and saying, I hate that person. I never want to talk to that person again. This is the feminine energy saying, I will always have compassion for someone, even if they could not give me what they needed. I will always have compassion for someone and recognize that we are on different spaces and places. So this is, again, that moment of the feminine recalibrating their own connection in order to facilitate healing. You don't need to cut the cord. You need to reaffirm where the cord lays. So even now we see a lot of that feminine energy and separation doing that heavy work. And it's all around the prioritization of the heart space, holding space for what has come before while pouring into the present. That is how the energy of the feminine is energetically freeing themselves. It's not a freeing, it's an expansion. Masculine and working in separation right now. This modality of coming forward to feminine, leading forward from a place of honesty, openness, you're potentially seeing a whole new side of feminine you never saw before. This could be masculine feeling like they're being introduced to feminine for the first time, because this is the difference between the masculine energy feeling like the feminine energy is toying with them. If this is masculine energy that thought that the feminine was toying with them, were you toying with the feminine? Were you leading forth with lies? Yes, then that was probably what was occurring. You were probably encountering a feminine that took one look and said, this person does not want to go deep. This person is just building on artifice. This person does not want to prioritize partnership. So that is what the masculine got back in turn. What starts happening when the masculine moves towards feminine from a point of authenticity, from a point of openness, from a point of clarity, from a point of intensity, from a point of intentionality, you start seeing a whole different side to feminine. You start seeing actual feminine energy, not the artifice, not the wall. This is the feminine shield wall. That is the feminine shield wall. You are now moving into that space or place of building genuine connections with feminine. It starts with your own ability to be vulnerable. That is the key. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Devil card in its reversal in combination with our Hermit in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Judgment, masculine and feminine energy that is in separation. This is the energetic healing that is occurring right now around situations or circumstances. It's not the fact that the energy is looking back and saying, I don't feel anything for anything of the past. This is the energy saying, I'm healing from the past. Of course, I feel an energetic connection. Of course, because I'm trying to heal something. So that's the energy that, again, learning that valuable lesson feels like it is a lifetime pursuit. For the energy that is moving forward in this way, for the energy that is healing in this capacity, this is almost looking and feeling that sense of acceptance, saying, I will always care about that person. I will always care about that individual, but they're not healthy for me. It's not healthy what we were creating together. There's no path forward that I don't see that wouldn't facilitate positivity. I have to make this decision. I have to affirm it, because this is energy that's saying, I'm not doing this to teach someone a lesson. I'm doing this because it's the only way, the only possibility that something could ever energetically heal, even if it means that partnership isn't the foregone conclusion of that healing. That is the energy that's almost feeling the affirmation and separation, having decided to move forward on that path and do that difficult work. While for masculine, this is the feminine saying to themselves, I need to heal from that. It's going to potentially take the rest of my life. I may never heal from that. Like even here, we see that that's the feminine saying, but I am. Recognizing and saying that is also that the energy saying, I am. My ability to observe that is me healing, because that's me coming to terms with how I feel and finding a way to integrate my healing in the larger context of how I'm feeling. I just need to incorporate it, right? Masculine, this modality is effectively allowing you to heal your own self. This is the masculine coming into a space saying, I am healing my own clarity. The more I'm able to be open, expressive, honest with feminine, I am building a healthy connection with feminine, potentially even for the first time in my life. If this is a masculine that's doing this for the first time, this feels very hard because it feels like you have to be vulnerable. You have to put yourself out there. You have to really be honest. But that ability of doing so is, again, the masculine seeing the results of that work, feeling it internally, getting that deepening understanding, and almost looking back and saying, I didn't understand this at all. I didn't understand this at all prior to this point. My eyes are clear now. And that ability to ascertain and recognize that your ability to look back on your past self and say, I was doing it wrong, is the gift of healing. Because that's the moment that allows for some kind of breaking in your own cycle. It allows for that point of achievement, understanding and being able to recognize and hold space for what it's taken on the way is that gift. And it's also the amplification of the healing journey, right? That's the lesson. That is the deep lesson that one receives, that one must carry, that some of us call wisdom. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, that observational point feels like this energetic healing that you're potentially receiving right now, not just in the divine union frequency, is now extending to the energy outside of it. Because you're now looking right now at the energy around you, and if you're coming into a healing gesture, you're just ascertaining and deciding that the energy that's supporting you in that is the energy that supports your healing. And the energy that doesn't support you coming into a healing gesture is potentially, again, for one reason or another, not in support of you coming into a space or place of healing. So that's a masculine energy, almost effectively just saying, noted, masculine and feminine, going noted, noted, almost just leaving it at that, almost just energetically leaving it at that. What else is there to say when you observe that? What else can you possibly say? So we see to a certain extent that that is the energy right now, again, working in the divine union frequency, coming into divine union and ascertaining what feels like it is positive and what is productive versus what feels like it needs to be energetically shed because it doesn't feel like it's supporting the healing environment that you are cultivating with another energy. Sad but true. Sad but true. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency, or in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is that affirmation of recognition that is built on that sense of energetic support. So what we basically see right now for the energy that is in the heart of the divine union frequency is, again, that feeling of anxiety or uncertainty, that feeling of, again, even when you're in the divine union frequency, there are expressions that you cannot articulate. There are experiences that are hard to put into words. There are things that you cannot necessarily navigate in the presence of a counterpart energy. That's the difference between our own personal journeys versus the energy or the journeys that we carry with another. Those things that we move through that are hard for us to articulate. But what is the energy right now that is moving forward in this way, saying to one another, I trust your judgment. I trust your judgment, right? That is also the affirmation of the energy and the divine union frequency, that amplification of trust, and also the amplification of, again, saying, I am not going anywhere and I trust your judgment. I am not going anywhere and I trust your judgment. Why? Because the energy in the divine union frequency doesn't make points of judgment based on the will of the self. They make it and they amplify this and they trust one another because they know and they feel that they always make the choices that they feel is in the benefit of the energy as a collective, right? That is the difference of the healing expression. The trust in saying, I know that you don't move forward just thinking solely about yourself. You are always moving in that modality of being cognizant and present for all of the energy that is around you. Continuing to get clarification on these cards between our Hermit in its reversal in combination with our Nine of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Ace of Pentacles. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. This modality, this is that ability, again, identifying and articulating the difference between what you feel another can help you with. Again, that dark journey of the soul, that moment that feels like it can be tangibly navigated versus what can be practically handled. A lot of work right now in that modality to try to parse through what feels like it is that personal moment of internal journeying, dealing with those abandonment wounds versus the energy around you that's saying, I am here to support you any way I can in a tangible way. In any way I can tangibly support you, right? And what is the energy in the divine union frequency saying energetically to themselves right now, even as they're equally going through some of this energetic heaviness? They're saying, I am here. I am here to support you every step of the way, and you are not alone in the modalities of the spaces and places I cannot support you. I'm here to support you, and you are not alone. So I'm here to give you everything I can. I'm here to give you my hand in every step I can. And know that in the places that I can't, I am also there. I am also by your side, even in those unbreachable spaces that one cannot tangibly, effectively help with. That's the energy saying, I am going to be there with you every step of the way as far as I can. And know that in the spaces that I can't, know that I am still there. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. This modality, this is that point of recognizing the simple fact that when you come into divine union, that energetic shift, you can observe a lot of the energy around you kind of having to take that point of recalibration in seeing how they're going to navigate now that you're in the divine union frequency. A lot of that observation is also that clarifying point right now, because we see that for a lot of the energy, this could even be feeling like that moment when you go into divine union and suddenly energy around you just disappears or drops off. Again, a lot of clarification that's potentially coming through right now in relationality to some energy, seeing how the energy around them is navigating the fact that they're recognizing that they're moving into divine union, right? It's like that clarification in a way, it doesn't even need to be addressed. It's like the energy is just kind of building everything that they need to know based on what is and is not being said or done. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation. This modality of understanding, potentially receiving something that you felt like you were working so hard to receive from another, that moment of like surprise, like almost the surprise of someone giving you something so easily right now. For a lot of the feminine energy, it can feel like it creates a little bit of an emotional conflict because it doesn't make it easier what you're healing from. It just provides that sense of clarity. That's almost the energy of the feminine going, I didn't realize it could be so easy. I've never experienced it being so easy. But that's because you were allowing yourself to stay and remain in spaces or places that made it clear that they were never going to make it easy. So for the energy receiving and understanding that, that is just that moment that feels like that point of receiving the gift of understanding that occasionally feels like it is profound, but also, again, saying to themselves, oh, potentially the reason I didn't receive this is because I allowed myself to stay in spaces or places that articulated the fact that that was not going to be something that was offered. Right? Finding the places that are already pro-offering it, giving it to you easily, not something that you have to build towards, not something that you have to pull out of a masculine, just finding the masculine that's going to do that. For the masculine, having this modality of saying the more honest I am with the feminine on what I'm giving, the more I will find a feminine that is in alignment of taking what I'm willing to receive. That's that moment or modality of not playing an energetic game with someone, just moving from a place or space of honesty, openness, and integrity is the minute you say to someone, I'm not playing games. If you're tired of games with the feminine, stop playing games with the feminine. If you want to be honest, if you want an honest feminine, be honest with the feminine. That modality, that ability to do so, that's not something that can be faked. And feminine can tell every single time if you're trying to fake it. So we see here that for a lot of the masculine energy, this is the path of the self, because this is the masculine saying to themselves, I'm doing this for myself to cultivate the environment that I want around myself. I want to build a garden instead of a world of illusion around the feminine. And again, the only sad part for a lot of the masculine is it may feel like it cost you a very valuable connection on the way of learning this, because this is that modality of recognizing the authenticity that may have been offered to you in the past that you may have effectively energetically rejected, either from not believing a feminine that was trying to come towards you from a space and place of authenticity, or from a feminine that was asking this from you and you were refusing to give it to them, or you were unable to understand. Continuing to get clarification between our Nine of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Hangman in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through. When you recognize this, it is like 1,000 doors open. And I have to say, it's like the 1,000 doors open from the past and from the future. Why? Because that is that modality of suddenly realizing and looking back and realizing all the possibilities had you learned this lesson sooner, all the things that might have been different. But again, what is the gift of that? The doors open both ways, right? You can look back on all the experiences, looking back, where this could have allowed for that breakthrough leads to something different. But it also, and this is why I don't want you to move into that sense of sadness, it also opens all the doors going forward, right? So making sure that you're keeping your focus forward and not on the back. Don't get caught looking that way. There's nothing that way. Can't go back there. Make sure you're keeping that focus forward. Let that be that moment of amplification, saying all possibilities are open, not I missed all the opportunities. Say all possibilities are open. That is how you guide forward in that moment that may feel like an overwhelming understanding. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union, this ability of recognizing right now in terms of, again, seeing the fact of energetically recognizing that when you move into divine union, some doors close around you. Yeah. When you move into divine union, some doors close around you. It's just fact. But guess what? A bunch of doors open too. It goes both ways, right? The doors that close, yes. The doors that open, yes. Every step we take, doors close, doors open. Our choices, our integrity, our path. Are you going to focus on the doors that close, or are you going to recognize and say, that is the nature of things. I have shifted my energy. Some doors will close when maybe you don't want those doors open. Do you want a door that closes because you come into divine union? Do you want that door open? What was in that door? Because there's also a bunch of doors that will open. Those are the doors of, again, moving forward with another energy, finding that counterpart and the possibilities that you can create together. So we see almost energetically, even now, that observation point of recognizing that is the nature of the frequency. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Masculine and feminine energy coming into, they're in the heart of the divine union frequency. You know this. You've gone through this. You accept this. But again, more than anything right now, one of the hurdles for the energy in the divine union frequency has more to do with the prioritization of what you can put your time, effort, and energy on. What we're effectively working through right now is this modality of recognizing at this time the fact that we see that for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, you only have so much bandwidth. You only have so much energy. What is the energy trying to do right now to help some of those feelings of overwhelm? They're actually, I told you, anything that's not coming through right now, plant more seeds. Plant more seeds. Plant more seeds. There's no closed doors. There's either the seeds in the earth that haven't come up. Sometimes you put things in the earth, they don't come up. It's just the way it works. What do? Do you stop planting? Do you stop planting? You say, oh, I guess that's not happening. No. Every good gardener knows you put the seeds in and then you wait. And if you don't feel like that, you don't stop putting seeds in. If you don't see something, you just continue. So we see even now that a lot of the energy in the divine union is saying if something, and this is what they're saying to each other to help amplify, if they're feeling any of that stagnancy right now, don't assume that something isn't coming up. Assume that something will come up when it's ready. Assume that it'll come up when it's time. Continue the work. Continue the work. Continue the work. Don't focus on the outcome. Do it for the love of doing it. Do what you do for the love of doing it. If you continually over-focus on the outcome, you don't love what you do. You do it because of the result. Find the joy in what you do. And when you do that, you will never feel like it is the heaviness energetically, because it's not that you're waiting for the positive. You're doing what you do all the time. Finding that joy in the act of doing it right now is the gift, or the energetic gift, that the divine union is almost amplifying to each other. Like, let us find joy in the process. If we find joy in the process, we will live happier because we will not wait for what we don't know will arrive. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Between judgment in combination with our Ace of Pentacles. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Queen of Pentacles. A little bit harder for the feminine energy. a little bit harder for the feminine energy right now in this modality, because this is the feminine energy right now that is putting a lot of this effort and energy in the tangible space, right? This is the feminine energy. It's very interesting right now, because what we see even now, and this is what's interesting, this is what helps. This is actually what's helping some of the masculine energy right now that's in counterpart with feminine in the divine union frequency. This modality of feminine with feminine masculine is almost watching feminine energy's own ability to push forward with that point of uncertainty. Feminine energy's own ability to continue to put forward, even at times that feel like they're not certain. That is the masculine that is feeling the support and feeling the weight and feeling like the energy of a feminine that doesn't necessarily do something for the sake of what they receive. They do something because of the passion that they have for the thing that they're doing, right? That is the gift of a feminine that finds joy in the work, right? That energy of the feminine that finds just joy and delight in every moment of work, right? The idea of craft. Why do we call it craft? We call it craft because we don't do craft for the sake of what we receive from it. We do craft because the joy of creating it is a part of the art. The joy of making it, the joy of generating it, it's all a part of it. That is the gift. Craft is the gift that gives to itself. Art is the end result. So we see here that for a lot of the masculine energy, learning the joy of craft is the gift that they're receiving from a lot of the feminine energy right now. And that ability to find joy in the work that results in what comes forth from it is what the masculine is learning right now to help amplify the gift that the feminine is offering them, right? These energies effectively helping one another through this work. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. This modality, this experience that we're seeing right now, masculine and feminine coming into divine union. This is the observational point that masculine may be having right now. And again, I'm just going to tell you what I'm seeing here. Masculine energy coming into divine union right now. There's a modality that you're potentially recognizing of some energy that may be making it very clear that they don't seem like they are inclined to desiring to see you entering divine union. They're either coming through in a space or place of trying to sow those seeds of doubt in terms of the relationship that you're trying to move into right now, or this could be a past paramour or past feminine connection that is potentially coming forward at a time that they see that you are investing towards someone. For masculine energy, recognizing this right now, this is potentially an eye-opening moment, because the observation point of the energy, not necessarily around you, that doesn't necessarily want to see you in divine union, that could be a little bit of an eye-opener. Feminine energy coming into divine union, you know this a bit more. Feminine energy knows this. Feminine energy obviously recognizes this to a certain extent. This is part and parcel. Feminine's like looking at a masculine if they're discussing this and going, well, yeah, that never occurred to you, right? This is the feminine energy almost saying to the masculine, if this is a masculine being like, I think there's some people around me that don't want to see me in partnership. This is feminine being like, really? Really? like you're just like almost like, well, yeah, obviously. So we see even now for a lot of the energy experiencing this is one of those moments that, like, if masculine's saying this is feminine looking at masculine like, are you kidding me right now? Like where have you been? Right? Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation. This modality, this insight, this clarity that's potentially coming through right now, it feels like a lot of this breakthrough, and a lot of these breakthroughs that are happening right now, this is the breakthrough that is allowing a lot of energy to, again, feel that confidence in terms of the direction that they're moving into right now. Feminine is potentially experiencing at a point of separation where they're immediately getting the thing that they asked for or they were trying to receive from another connection. This is almost someone like immediately offering that to them, like right on the table. And so for the feminine moving in that modality, that is that moment of the feminine feeling the full weight of saying, my choice is being like, it's like my choice is being made for me, because it's not even something I go back to. It's like that thing that seems obvious now because your own path of discernment moving. And now it's like the feminine going, well, obviously I'm moving away from the energy that wouldn't give me something, and I'm moving in alignment with the energy that is. It's hard, but it's almost reaffirming a feminine, even as the feminine's like, what's the anxiety and sadness of the feminine? I didn't want it coming from this energetic source. Let's be honest. That's what's happening with a lot of the energy healing from the trauma, saying, why couldn't it have come from the space and place that I desired it to? And this is the feminine saying, well, of course it didn't. That energy never gave any indication that that's what they were aspiring for. So we see even now that's the feminine energy, taking the personal accountability and utilizing that as the gift of understanding as they go forward. Masculine energy in separation. The problem or hurdle here of masculine leading forward from a place of honesty, openness, integrity. It feels like it's heavy because it may have energetically come at the cost of a connection. This is potentially masculine, again, looking back and saying, this is what this person wanted from me. This is what they were asking. This is why they became so unstable. This is what, seeing the root cause. This is masculine embodying the lesson and taking that accountability and saying, if the feminine was unstable, it was because I was bringing forth some sense of instability as well. Again, once masculine realizes that the feminine acts as a mirror, then the masculine understands more when feminine comes into a point of instability. That's a masculine saying, what should I have been giving forth to that energy that would have given them what they needed to be able to come forward in that way? So that moment of deep healing here, even now, is the masculine almost recognizing and saying, it's on me. The feminine will be as stable as I am stable. The feminine will be as honest as I am honest. I need to do this. I can't fake this. The feminine can tell when I'm trying to fake it. I just need to become that. So we see even now that is the journey of the masculine, who's recognizing that these changes are not happening for the sake of impressing a feminine. This is almost that moment of trying to say, I'm trying to bring forth the feminine that will meet me in that space because I am creating that space. So even now, a lot of the masculine energy learning, but feeling like it came at the cost of what might have been a very critical connection in the past that this lesson has basically generated from. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ace of Pentacles in combination with our Seven of Cups. One card to clarify. Clarification in, this is energetically peaceful. I mean, the thing about this right now is it is a catharsis point, right? There's the gift. Being able to have something and receive a gift from it creates its own form of catharsis. So even now, the being able to identify if in separation, having learned a valuable lesson, in a way, it doesn't make it easier, but it does. It doesn't say, oh, it was worth it. It wasn't. But it's feeling that sense of saying, at least there is something that I'm able to take forward that helps me understand. That is how you heal a karmic connection. It's not that something goes the way that you aspire and desire. If you take the lesson, if you've learned the karmic lesson, you have energetically healed the karmic connection, because you take what occurred and you don't move away from it with a sense of uncertainty. You leave the connection with a sense of deepened understanding as to what occurred, why it occurred, and what you need to do going forward to make something better. Then congratulations. You don't need to cut a cord. That's how you heal a karmic connection. So we see that for a lot of the energy, being able to move into this modality, being able to take a kernel of understanding, finding that understanding, finding that kernel of understanding on why something had to occur, why it occurred the way that it did, why something didn't work, what you need to do going forward that will allow and facilitate something better. That is the karmic lesson occurring. That is the breakthrough. So for a lot of the energy right now, that is that sad but true energy, that sinking in of saying it was a hard lesson, but I understand why. Immediate karmic healing, putting forth on those spaces and places, because that is karmic closure. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This modality of recognition. What makes you feel better when you experience the point of seeing that a door is closing around you as you come into divine union? The fact that you don't care because you're moving forward and you see the fact that the abundance, the possibilities, the opportunities, what you're building with another counterpart energy, that is the expansion point. Why do you care about a door closing when all of the doors around you are opening? That modality is the intentionality one puts, being able to sacrifice something, being able to relinquish something. Closing any of the doors that wanted to see you in separation is the act of sacrifice you receive, moving forward in intentionality in what you choose to build with another. Yeah, you're right. You're going to close some doors doing that. You're going to hear some doors slam shut. Some of those doors will surprise you. So like some of them will try to catch your fingers in them, as they do. But your ability to recognize and identify and say, well, that energy did not want to see me in divine union. That energy did not want to see me in a space of happiness. That builds a level and degree of deep insight. The gift is recognizing that. Seeing when it occurs is its own gift, because that's that moment of opening one's own eyes to the situation, the true nature of some of the karmic relationships around you. So we see here that for a lot of the energy, that point is immediately a catharsis, because it's almost saying, wow, I didn't expect that to happen, but now I see it. I can't unsee it. That's that affirmation that almost reaffirms the commitment in moving towards someone in that way. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union. This is that modality. This is that supportive energy, effectively saying right now, if you're feeling any of that feeling of stagnancy, not seeing something come forward, what is the energy around each other saying? Keep going. Just because you don't see something happening doesn't mean something isn't happening. Just because that seed isn't out of the earth right now does not mean that it will not sprout. Some things take more time than others. Our job is not to stop and to mourn when we don't see a seed come to bear. Our job is to continue planting seeds. So we see even now being able to build that sense of joy in the process, even with that sense of knowing. The gift of the divine union is say, build joy in the unknowing, build joy in the anticipation. Keep going, see what results, keep taking those chances, keep taking those risks, keep pushing. Do it with a sense of joy, not with a sense of desperation. That is the energy of saying, find joy in the craft, find joy in the craft. If you enjoy what you do, it won't feel like the desperate act of waiting for something to become. You'll find joy in the everyday action of doing it. Even now, the energy and the divine union supporting each other in that, saying, you're not alone. I'm here with you. You've got this. Keep going. I am here. You're not alone. I love you. You've got this. Keep going. That is the energy of the divine union. Continuing. Final card for today's spread between our Queen of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Nine of Swords in its reversal. One card, please. Clarification coming through right now with the Chariot in its reversal. Again, a lot of anxiety right now, a lot of frustration, a lot of what's going to feel like, again, little energetic or spiritual setbacks right now. What occurs? What do we do when we experience these little stagnancy points? What occurs? What do we do when we start feeling these little hiccups? We work through them. We plan, we process, we progress. Even now, a little bit harder for the feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Because this is that modality that we're energetically seeing right now for a lot of the feminine energy, that is almost that point of identifying and saying, this is the feminine saying to masculine, right? We need to find joy in the process. We need to find joy in the ability of moving towards what we want to move towards. If we're constantly just focusing on the end point and we're not happy on the way, who cares about getting there? If we're going to have an unpleasant trip, taking a car ride or going somewhere, what's the point of even going, right? So this is almost the feminine and masculine working through this to a certain extent and saying, how can we build joy into the process of getting to where we need to go? That's not saying that we're not going to sit there and grit our teeth and bear it and feel like everything is agonizing between now and the time that we move towards our manifestation goals. This is that moment of saying, what is the purpose of moving towards a manifestation goal if we cannot have joy and happiness and prosperity and abundance on the way? So being able to figure out that way of doing so, finding that ability of easement is a lot of the work right now for masculine and feminine. And in a way, it's creating that point of catharsis. Creating that point of saying, if you're coming into it, like this is masculine and feminine acting as a clear mirror to one another, especially if someone is agonizing right now in terms of not seeing like some manifestation goal coming to bear. This is that moment of someone saying to another person, well, again, If you love something, you shouldn't be doing it because of some kind of like desired endpoint. You should just be enjoying every moment, every point in the experience, because that's the moment of seeing that life is not a race to a conclusion. It's every step. You have to have joy in every step on the way. Masculine and feminine articulating this lesson to one another right now. Masculine may be having to articulate this to feminine. This is a little bit of this is going to be different depending on where you are in the divine union. This could either be a masculine trying to communicate this to a feminine, or a feminine trying to communicate this to a masculine. This could either go either way, because these energies are in such alignment right now that it really depends on like which side which side of it is being calibrated here. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is the observation point. This is just that, bit of a gut punch that you receive when you suddenly recognize that there's energy that doesn't want to see you move into divine union. Again, it's sad but true. It's sad but true. I know it's sad, but it's true. For a lot of the masculine energy, this could be something that feels even more energetically overwhelming. Feminine always knows this. Feminine recognizes this. This is something that feminine just intuitively knows to a certain extent. For masculine, though, recognizing and actually seeing this could even have heard feminine say this to you in other capacities at other points, but truly understanding this now, for some of the masculine energy, it may feel somewhat overwhelming. But we see even now that the point of observation, being able to observe that, is immediately cathartic. Because that's the minute you see something, you can heal from something. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. What we're energetically seeing here is, again, that moment of understanding why something could not work is immediately creating energetic healing. It's immediately healing. This is like almost instantaneous karmic healing that's coming through on some situations and circumstances right now. We're in the act of receiving, for feminine, receiving something that was so hard to receive from another energetic connection. While for masculine, that ability of recognizing and feeling how easy it is to build forth in a positive connection with feminine when you lead forth with honesty, openness, clarity, integrity. This is that moment that immediately is allowing for some profound karmic repair. Did you think karmic repair meant that you just get back with someone? No. Karmic repair means you understand the full lesson on why something did not work. That is karmic repair. That is the clearing of a karmic cycle. Understanding why. Having that understanding, taking the lesson, being able to apply it going forward is the healing of the karmic cycle. For a lot of the energy in separation right now, that is a profound amount of understanding. For feminine, this is effectively recognizing and understanding how you may have led forth asking for things from masculine energy that was giving every indication in every way, shape, or form that it was not something that they were willing to give or desiring to give. For masculine, this is that moment of recognizing that if there was a feminine energy that was unstable around you, it was potentially because you were building a world of illusion around them versus what you are going to give them versus what you actually desired. Both of these energies healing profoundly in the recognition that that is what you need to take forward to build forward in a healed energetic signature going forward. It feels a little overwhelming. It feels a little energetically heavy, but sometimes things need to hurt to heal. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now is that ability not to look back, not taking the importance when we learn a karmic lesson is not to spend all of our time looking back. One of the big problems that potentially occurs is when someone learns a karmic lesson, they become so overwhelmed with a karmic lesson that they spend all of their time looking back in regret, wishing that they had learned the karmic lesson sooner, that they lose the opportunity of being able to apply it moving forward. So it's really, really important right now that you don't get caught in this cycle of saying to yourself, I wish I recognized something sooner. I wish I'd seen something sooner. If only I did this. No. Everything that you just did happened exactly as it needed to do. You've succeeded. You got to where you needed to go. Recognizing and understanding that is the breakthrough point. You're on that summit. Don't spend the whole time staring at the path that led you to it. Turn your head, look at where you can go with it. Because that's that opportunity that, like, again, you could spend the rest of your life looking backwards, or you can utilize that and say, thank you. Thank you to all of those lessons, and I'm sorry. Really, you can look back, and if you want to give the affirmation to the past, you look back and go, thank you and I'm sorry. Thank you and I'm sorry. Thank you and I'm sorry. And then you look forward and you take that and you put it into practice as the apology and the affirmation for all of that hard work you had to do to receive that lesson. That is our daily collective read for today. I'd like to thank you so much for being here today and experiencing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, gracestrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never reach out to you for a reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I'd like to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these messages. And we will do this again tomorrow.